Hi, everyone, and welcome back to my Being A series where I get deep into normally FPL content creators' brains and heart and find out about their history as a supporter of their team. However, this week I got a very special guest. I got the creator of the Latte Firm, Faisal. Faisal, how are you, sir?
I'm really well. Thanks for having me on, Ray. It's good to be on your channel.
Thank you so much. So, a little history. About a week into listening to the Latte Firm, I was like, man, this is a guy you can like sit for coffee with, and just chill and just shoot the shit about Arsenal. I was like, you know what? Let me just do a little cheeky ask, and then a few weeks later, he got back to me, and then here we are. I mean, how much do I owe you?
Mate, honestly, it's a pleasure. I'm sorry it took me a few weeks to get back to you.
Oh,
My inbox can be a little bit chaotic, but when people reach out and they want to spend time with you and talk to you, you can only say yes. So I'm really grateful that you've even thought about inviting me on.
yeah, of course. Checks in the mail. All right. Just watch your post. So before we get on to the real nitty gritty of Arsenal, if you could maybe give me a little inkling about Faisal the man. Who are
Wow,
you?
what a question. Who am I? So look, I'm just a very ordinary bloke. I'm 40 years old. I live in London. I'm a father of two beautiful children. I've been living in London pretty much my whole life. I was actually born in Cardiff. My parents had me while they were away for New Year's, and I happened on New Year's Eve. So yeah, I've been living in London, worked in London my whole life. I work, YouTube is not my job, funnily enough. I qualified as a chartered accountant many years ago, and I found myself now in marketing and business development. So yeah, and YouTube and Arsenal. Arsenal's been a big part of my life. I've been supporting Arsenal since I was a boy, thanks to my dad who took me once to Highbury, and I was addicted ever since. So, yeah, in terms of me, very ordinary chap, Londoner, family man, football man, really easygoing. But at the moment, I'm sort of just waiting for my new job to start in September, which is why I'm pumping out loads of content.
Hell yeah. That transitions beautifully to the Latte Firm. I mean, please tell me about its inception because it almost came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it did. And the story behind it is that during COVID, of course, everybody was in lockdown and we all had to find different things to basically, have as our release. You're a young father, you've got two young kids. When you're in lockdown, you need to find something to basically attract your attention. And of course, if you remember when it was proper lockdown, we weren't able to go to games. Football, of course, was temporarily sort of postponed. So my wife said to me, "Look, you need a release because you're just grumpy. You're not getting out of the house. You're not doing what you need to do." So I decided that I wanted to start a YouTube channel. I thought to myself, so many amazing creators are
Wow.
creating awesome content, but I thought there was a gap in the market, as it were, for a different style of chat.
Mm,
Some sensible sort of discourse with maybe the older generation of fans,
yeah.
and that's how it started, man. So I started my YouTube channel exactly a year ago tomorrow. So tomorrow, this weekend marks the 1 year anniversary of like the formal Premier League start. The first video that I ever did, and it's
Brilliant.
been amazing. It's been really good fun. I've created maybe just over 100 videos now in the first year that we've been operating, and the comments, the viewings, everything about it's just been insane. And if you're wondering where the name comes from,
Yep.
just finally, it's a very light-hearted play on the fact that, of course, years and years ago we used to have football firms. Now the modern day fan is basically me in my chinos and shirt having a coffee on a match day with my mates, and so it's just a very light-hearted play on the fact that we're the latte firm.
Yeah. Beers replaced by cappuccinos.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Well, the thing about it, I became a fan because, like I said to you offline, is it's kind of like you're just having a nice, cordial, logical conversation about Arsenal because there are a lot of other outlets out there which I feel are a bit too passive aggressive and then obviously aggressive as well, it kind of becomes banter and a meme, isn't it? And Arsenal have been great in regards to the
Yeah.
banter material, but
Do
you
you know
guys are
what
a
though?
lot more. No, go on. After you,
No,
after
no,
you.
all I was going to say, do you know what, Ray? Like, I have a lot of respect for content creators of any kind. It's really difficult. You'll know, creating today's studio, preparing, a guest or me, preparing all the slides or whatever it is that you're going to do. Like, these things take time. And, like I said, you're a dad, you've got two kids, you've got your day job. People don't realize how much kind of effort goes into it. So I've got immense respect for all creators. But You're right. I think there is a lot of sensationalism out there, and of course, a
Mm.
lot of people hang on those things. I just wanted to create something that I thought would be a little different, where we could use some of the data out there to prepare breakdowns on individual player signings, to use my contacts that I've got with journalists to do like post match breakdowns, and then just to get regular fans like you and I on a late night latte, during the week, just to have a chat about all things Arsenal. And like I said, look, there's some things that other channels do really well, and there are things that I thought maybe Latte Firm could go in there and fill that gap. And so far, it's been insane.
Fantastic, absolutely brilliant. Now we'll get to the really fun part, yeah. But forget all that stuff. Your history of supporting Arsenal. How did it happen? Player. I mean, what happened?
So, I mean, look, I used to play football at school, of course, and I grew up in North London, so in Hendon near Brent Cross, and obviously Arsenal were the team at that time. My father wasn't hugely into football. He's a first generation immigrant, and he was given 2 tickets to go and see Arsenal for free one Christmas. I was 7 years of age, and my dad, I remember saying to my mum that, look, I'm obviously not going to go to football because he was more scared about hooliganism, and it was a very unknown quantity to him. So
Yeah,
he was going to give the tickets to the postman as a gift. And I remember turning to him saying, actually, Dad, why don't we go? Like, take me. Like, don't you have to take anyone else, or not about your mates. Why don't you take me along? And so he ummed and ahed, and we decided to go. And it was a fixture against Wimbledon at home, which we lost 3-1, to be fair. But it was a fixture against Wimbledon at home, and he was terrified that night. All he was looking out for was me, the safety. It was an evening game.
of course.
But I remember coming out the tube station, and I remember the smell of sort of nuts in the air because of time and chips. It was
Yeah,
like nut. And I remember walking along the road up towards Highbury, and I caught my first glimpse through a corner of a couple of houses of the floodlights, and it was mesmerizing. And then as soon as we got into the stadium, the noise, the kerfuffle, the people chanting, like it was all a bit overwhelming. But we got in, and I remember going up the steps and then down the stairs to our seats, and I remember seeing the green velvet carpet. And I was in awe of it all. Like, I was 7 years old, wasn't really understanding stuff, but I remember the whole experience. I remember my dad saying to me, "So, I take it you're now going to support Wimbledon because, of course, Wimbledon won." And I turned to my dad and said, "No, Dad, I love the red shirt." And ever since then, I've been an Arsenal fan. And my dad was very generous in terms of me growing up and allowing me to go to games. And of course, first generation parents study, study, study. But it was like, go to football, and yeah, he let me do that. And from a young age, I've been going regularly, had a season ticket from a very young age, loved all the Highbury memories, went obviously to the Emirates, sold programs as a boy at the stadium. So like, yeah, my association with the club is spanning over 3 decades now, which is mad. But I'm very much, Arsenal is my team, Arsenal is my club. I love this club.
it's funny because spoiler alert, watchers. I mean, we didn't know, but this about each other. But I grew up in Kingsbury, Sudbury Town, so I'm really not far away at all. So Brent
There
Cross
you
is like
go.
second home when you're younger, isn't it?
Well, there you go. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. There you go. So Hendon Central is where I grew up as a boy and went to primary
Unbelievable.
school there and stuff, and that was my education in football.
Usually, when a team selects you, I always like to say that. I know it sounds corny, but it's like it's that feeling you get within yourself when you're selecting a team or when you feel a team is relating themselves to you. But usually that's through a player. And for me, it was Ian Wright. And I'm just wondering, did you have a player where you're like, oh my goodness, that's my idol, if you like, when I'm learning to support this team?
Yeah, I mean, who didn't love Ian Wright? But mine was perhaps a little bit earlier than that. It was Paul Merson. I loved
Wow.
Paul Merson. I mean, for me, oh, Merson in look, we're going back a long time now, so there's maybe some of your younger viewers are like, who, when, what? But in the sort of late 80s, Paul Merson was the most incredible player. And I remember going to school, trying to be like him, trying to run like him, trying to play like him. So I used to celebrate sort of like him, whatever celebration he would do when he would score a goal, we'd do it on the school field.
Of
So
course.
Paul Merson for me was a really big hero. Of course, he had players like David Rocastle, Ian Wright, Tony Adams, but Paul Merson for me from that sort of creative element. And I always, I started off as a number 10, which is why I like those creative midfielders. Yeah, Paul Merson for me was a big childhood hero.
Amazing, fabulous player. And I wish he stayed to get that 100 because it was 99, wasn't it? He's finished on
Yeah,
99
really,
goals.
really bad luck. Look, life takes you in funny ways, right? As you and I know. But I'll always have fond memories of Paul. And even though now he's in sort of commentary and pundit work, and people laugh at him and stuff, he's an Arsenal man. Like he's proper Arsenal. He really cares for this club. He can often be misunderstood and mistaken for things that he says, but yeah, when he was at Arsenal, when he was at the top of his game, he was absolutely fabulous.
Absolutely. It's brilliant stuff. Absolutely brilliant. It seems like you're kind of transitioning to my next questions very well. So that's brilliant. So, of course, last season we won't dwell too much on it. It was unfortunate we finished fifth at the end, but overall a very positive season. Going into the new season, and of course the signings that we made, and obviously the I'll coin this from you, but the departure lounge as well. It's starting to empty. That is probably the best way of saying it. It's definitely got a magnificent vibe towards the club at the moment, and it's just brilliant at the moment. I'm loving the way we're playing. I love the identity. I love. It looks like we've finally got kind of that process that Arteta's been advocating for all this time. What are your expectations going into the season?
Yeah, it's a really good question, Ray, because it's a question that I often ask a lot of people that come on, obviously, my channel. And the answers more often than not lean towards the Champions League. And for me, it's about progress and wanting to compete at the top. It's about winning honours. If we go back to last season, actually, Ray, because you mentioned it,
Sure.
last season, I think, was a really big missed opportunity. Going into last season, I didn't expect us to be in the race for top four. And actually, obviously, as the season panned out, there was a moment when I think we had 26 games on the board. We were 6 or 7 points clear. And I thought, right, January came round. This is the time. Go and strengthen, get one or two players. We had that public pursuit of Dusan Vlahovic, of course, you might remember. And then when that went all wrong, there were links with Artem Melo on the last day, and nothing really happened. And I do think that window cost us. And of course, we lost our captain, our talisman, our best paid player in Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. So that was a real missed opportunity for me in January. And then, of course, the season unfolded the way that it did. And, of course, to lose on the final day and to lose to that lot in terms of the race for top four is heartbreaking. So, yes, it was progress on the season before, but I think it was a real big missed opportunity. And I also don't like the way that we crashed out the FA Cup. Nottingham Forest, as I'm sure is all too familiar and memorable to you.
Yeah.
I just, it was a very damp squib. Like the way that we went out in that game was really poor performance, and I really value the domestic cups. So yeah, disappointing season last year. In terms of this season, it's just about improvement, Ray. I every time a season comes about, and you've got the summer window, I don't look at it as, right, what do Arsenal need to go from fifth to fourth or fifth to third or whatever. I look at it, right, Manchester City are champions. What do we need to do to narrow that gap between the two of us? I know we're miles off competing. I know we're maybe a year, 2 years away before even dreaming about a title challenge. But I think the moves and the strategy in the window have to be enabling you to narrow that gap as a team. And if you look back at what we've done this summer, and of course there's still 3 weeks to go in this window, it's been a pretty good window. Fabio Vieira was a surprise one, just came out of the blue, but we need creative midfield. We need creative midfielders, more options in that final third. Gabriel Jesus was the big one. We wanted him for a long time, and I worried for a moment that, okay, we're not Champions League anymore. Maybe he's going to want to go somewhere else where he can get that, but I'm delighted we got him over the line because you can see already the impact he's having on us.
Yeah.
Zinchenko is a really astute signing for me. Kieran Tierney, Tomiyasu, and Partey. If you think about, both fullbacks and Thomas Partey are anchor in midfield. As good as those players are, they're unreliable fitness-wise. Thomas Partey missed important chunks of last season. Tomiyasu, he had soft tissue injuries before he came to Arsenal. Of course, they continued. And Tierney, we know, wonderful footballer, but can miss 20-25% of games. So it was really important that we went out and got adequate cover. And Zinchenko's not just left back cover. Like, the guy is so versatile. He can play midfield, he can play left wing back, inverted full back. Like, he gives us so many options. So we've made some really good moves, and there's still more to come. Like William Saliba coming in, he looks like a Rolls Royce at the back. Looks like he's been here for years. He's almost, as Arsene Wenger used to say, like a new signing. And one or two gaps still, right? Let's be honest. I'd like another wide forward. I'd like another central midfielder, maybe like a left-sided 8, someone like Yuri Tillemans, who's obviously linked with us. But in terms of expectations, when you consider all of the above and the journey that we've been on and the process that you mentioned that everybody's been sort of watching on All or Nothing, my expectation has to be, I want to be at Europe's top table, Ray. I want to be playing in the Champions League. And whether that's through finishing top 4, whether that's through winning the Europa League, we have to be there. So for me, that would be a sign of progress. But I also want us to have a relentless assault on trophies. That's what it's about. Like, I don't know if it's my age or, my experience of, I've been to Wembley so many times and seen this amazing club win so many trophies and lose our fair share, to be fair. that for me, it's about those days out with your mates at Wembley Stadium. You know, those are the things that I remember. I look back at the last 10 years and think, you know, 2014, 2015, 2017, 2020, like those winning years are what will stick in my mind over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years. So,
Not
nobody
top four
remembers coming.
qualification.
No,
Yeah.
you don't. You don't. But
No
look,
one cares.
but I understand it was a need for us, right? Like when we moved to the Emirates, we needed to finish top four, and you can knock, or fans can knock Arsene Wenger all they want, but it was the right mentality to have. We needed to get into that top four for that funding to allow us to stay afloat. But of course, they always said 2013, 2014 was going to be the year that you kind of take the shackles off. We started buying 20, 30 million pound players. Then it crept up to 40, 50 million pound players. And of course, you bought Pepe 2-3 years ago for 70 plus. So we're going in the right direction. For me now, it's about, look, Arsenal are a big club, big stadium. We've finally got the money. We've got, a good young manager, really good sort of setup around the ground, great profiler squad. It's got to be about taking that next step now and winning honours, domestic honours, and going far in Europe. So I want to win the Europa League this year. I want to get into the Champions League, and I want to close that gap on Manchester City. Is that fair? I mean, how do you feel about it?
Yeah, I was going to go to that because I'm an outspoken chap myself, but I had a question about it on a few streams and spaces as well. I'm a huge advocate for space. I think they're brilliant. And someone said, "Well, Ray, if Arteta finishes fifth, do you want him sacked?" And I said, I look at it more as points as well. I want us to steadily progress and get more points. If we get 73, 74 points and we fail to get in the Champions League, I can't suddenly call for his head, I feel, because, all the teams are improving. Tottenham have got better, it seems. Chelsea are going to sign more players. I think they've spent the most already in the Premier League so far, and I think we're second at the moment. I look at it more of, okay, well, if we get more points, then I'm confident we'll get into the Champions League from the 69 that we had previously. But something I really anchored on to what you said is I don't want it at the sacrifice of the other competitions. Okay, Carabao, I'm pretty relaxed about. But the FA Cup, I'll be honest with you, it's my favourite ever competition because that's the one I'm most synonymous with Arsenal. When Ian Wright scored the goal against Sheffield Wednesday in the final, the replay. This is... we're around the same age. Okay? So I remember all of these memories, all of these things. So I don't want to sacrifice him against Nottingham Forest. And in the Europa League as well, during the group stages, if hopefully we have a favourable group, I'd like us to... I don't want to see the likes of Charlie Patino playing. I know he's on loan. I want the guys who are on the cusp of the first team to be playing in those games, because I thought last season you'd see El Neni suddenly thrust in, isn't it? You'd see players like Cedric, I'm not a fan, but he plays a lot, suddenly thrust in as well. I want these guys to be match ready. I want them ready for that when the inevitable injury comes to paper thin Tierney. We got players who can come in and do a job. So I'm very much around the same boat as you. But if we don't qualify for the Champions League and we get into 70 points, Faiz, I can't really suddenly call for Arteta's head. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. But, again, I think Arsenal fans have got a tendency of being quite binary when it comes to these things. Like it's either failure or progress, or it's either yes or no, or he's either going to have to stay in his job and get sacked. Like you have to apply a bit of context, and, let's just see how things unfold come the end of this season. If we're miles off and, we finish 6th, 7th, 8th or whatever, and the gap just gets bigger and bigger, then questions have to be asked about the management and the coaching staff. But if we're competitive and we miss out on the last day and we really give it a good go and we've had better performances, we've got better results against some of the bigger teams, then there's a case for it to, let's see, give it another year, see what happens. You've got to bear in mind, we've still got the youngest squad in the league. And we're adding quality to it. And Mikel, as much as he's been in the role already for 3 years or his third season now, he's still a very young manager, like he's learning on the job. So for me, it's not so straightforward or black and white, or however you want to kind of describe it. Like you just need to assess it at the end of the season, see where we go. But listen, all things at the moment, the way you and I are feeling, the way people who are going to watch this program are feeling about Arsenal, it feels right. It feels exciting. Like you're encouraged by what you see, and there's a lot of hype around this season.
Yeah, brilliant. Regarding Mikel Arteta, are you very much... I have been a Mikel out guy, especially when you consider some of the results and the formations and stuff like that. Especially end of the season before last and in the beginning of last season, it's tough. It's been tough, and I understand that. And I think Manchester United might experience that this season. A full-on reset. How do you feel how would you assess Arteta, really? I think that's the best way of saying it. Now, you can answer that any way you want. I know it's very generalized, but how would you assess him as Arsenal manager? Because he's definitely learning on the job.
Yeah, it's again a massive question, and it's a really good question, and we should talk about it. But there'll be different answers to this. So, I think just to pick up on your point about, you said that you flirted with the idea of Mikel out.
Mm.
I don't think I've ever been sort of that vocal about it, but I do think, though, Ray, that fans shouldn't feel bad about questioning the direction or the caliber of a manager or players at any time. I think that's actually quite healthy. If the club is doing well, you get behind the coach, you get behind the players, and you start pushing out the propaganda. I get it, right? We've all been there. We're all football fans. And when things start going a bit tough and, your back's up against the wall, then as fans, you shouldn't just believe naively or blindly. You should be able to sort of just stop and say, hang on a second. I really wanted the manager to do well. I really liked these players, but for whatever reason, they're having a really bad time and the results have been really poor. So we need to question it. So flip-flopping is the word, but I think it's a really rational and clever and sensible thing to do. So my thoughts on, so I just wanted to sort of address that because I think it's sometimes unfair when people have to almost feel bad or apologize for being like, well, I did think that Arteta maybe was the wrong person for the job. We've all been there and done it. I think with regards to Mikel, I have a number of thoughts. I love the fact that he played for us, and I love the fact that he is an ex-pro, an ex-gunner. I think that carries a lot of sentimental value. When he first arrived, he inherited a mess of a squad. There's no doubt about it. The squad was in a bad way when Arsene left. Unai made it worse and spent all our money and just brought the wrong profile of player. Your Lickrati, etc. So clear out. But what Arteta did really well in that first year was to galvanize what we had, and we won the FA Cup. Amazing success story. Gave the club a lot of belief that actually this guy can do something. But now we've undertaken a long-term project where we wanted to clear out the toxicity, the deadwood in the squad. We wanted to almost reset or recalibrate our wage structure. We wanted to build a new profile of squad, bring in fresh, young, hungry players, all of whom have their futures ahead of them and, resale value. But the biggest positive that I see, and this has been further kind of demonstrated in All or Nothing, is just the environment, the culture. It's clear that, when your captain, your talisman, your best paid player, Aubameyang, is constantly breaking club rules, turning up late, going absent without leave, not being in the right frame of mind, etc., etc. When he keeps doing those things repeatedly, that's poisonous for the culture, for the especially for the youngsters, and the example that you're trying to set as a manager, it kind of undermines you. So, make no mistake, all the stuff that we've had to deal with, or that Arteta's had to deal with in terms of clearing out some of these players, it doesn't happen overnight. Like it takes 3, 4, 5, 6 windows. So, that's where we are now. And in terms of what he's building, I think it's clear he wants to build a very open and honest and transparent environment of players who want to be at Arsenal, who want to fight for the badge and who want to be model professionals, players who want to earn a living fairly and decently and be as hardworking as they can. And I love that. You love that. All Arsenal fans want that. And what I would say, Ray, as well, is that we've got a really likable group of players. Like you look at you go to the Emirates now, or you go to the away games, and every one of those 11 men that put on the shirt, everybody likes them. Everybody's sort of in love with them. We're so fond of like some of these young boys that are coming through, and what he's done with some of our youngsters. I mean, the way he's brought on Martinelli, Smith Rowe, Saka, and what he's going to do with Saliba already, you can see like Arteta's very much a very, very technically astute coach. I suppose now the proof is in the pudding. We've been through this journey of clear out. We're adding the right pieces to this jigsaw. Maybe you could argue he needs another window. So, he's got the next 3 weeks to hopefully add another midfielder. But in January, there might be an opportunity to add another wide forward. And then you'd have to say next summer, once he gets any other additions in, you'd probably have to say, well, look, this is as good a squad as you're going to get, Mikel. You've had money, you've had time. Now's the time to challenge. And to be fair to Mikel and Edu, as has been explained by Edu in that interview that he did with Sky Sports a few weeks back, this was always a 5-year project, and the idea was for the project to go bang in 2 years' time from now, so next season. So, I mean, look, I like Arteta. In closing, I would say I really hope he's the right man for the job. I think when he first came in, I was a little bit anxious. I was like, oh gosh, there's some big personalities here, and he hasn't really won anything in his career. He's, as in anything of major sort of note, right? He wasn't, he's not even an Arsenal legend, if you like. So I thought, right, okay, so he's going to come here, and how's he going to deal with this?
Mm,
So he's done everything right so far, and everything that he does and everything that he says, I completely believe. Like, I'm totally in with him. I
yeah.
really believe, and I really want him to take us back to the very top. But you're competing with two teams who are, you could argue, two of the greatest teams the Premier League's ever produced in Manchester City and Liverpool. So if we can get close, that's got to be the ultimate aim. And yeah, I love Arteta. I mean, what do you think? Are you back in to sort of Arteta in camp now? Are you firmly believing in him? Do you have any doubts?
Yeah, I mean, Faiz, I don't care who the manager is. I just want us to succeed. I don't mind if people throw the book at me and say, "Look, Ray, you are wrong from what you said when you preferred Ancelotti," because he got hired the same day Ancelotti got hired for Everton, and I just said, "What the hell is going on?" Because I'm a huge fan of Ancelotti. I
And
always
you know
have
what?
been.
You'd be forgiven for thinking that, because
Absolutely.
Ancelotti has got a proven track record, as he's shown again ever since leaving
Yeah.
Everton, joining Real Madrid, winning another Champions League. He is the sort of caliber of manager that you would want to be leading such a big club. So,
Yeah.
you'd be forgiven for thinking that. And, Arteta's complete opposite end of the spectrum. But it does feel now, like 3 years into this project, that Arteta is special. And
Yeah.
when you've come through the school of thought from Arsene Wenger, from Pep Guardiola,
Wow.
and you're so highly thought of in the game, and you listen to what these players are saying about Arteta in All or Nothing, or in post-match interviews. Like, these boys, they love him. They
Mm,
really believe in him. They feel, every time someone says, "Oh, this guy's level of detail, like I've never seen it before," or "This guy's knowledge of tactics, I've never heard it before," or "Yeah, Mikel's always teaching us things." Like, listen for these things. These are clues. Like, the players are telling you in front of your own eyes that, like, this guy knows what he's doing.
yeah.
So, that's why I'm happy with Mikel. And like I said, if he wasn't an ex-player, maybe I'd have been a bit more sort of harsh on him last season and the season before. But it does, that sentimental sort of attachment does buy him a bit of extra time, and it has generated some goodwill.
Yeah, and something you said as well, which I've mentioned before, is when I watch the team, I love these players, and it's been probably 3, 4 years since I've said that. Like, I love them all. Like, I love the effort, the skill, the intensity. You could see what we're trying to do. And about players, I wanted your opinion on this. So, I think we got a few world class players and ones that are going to hit that level. But I think the highest ceiling is Martinelli. I think he has stuff that's very difficult to teach in regards to that pure drive. He missed a big chance, but it didn't put him down at all. He still got in the area. The pressure he does is very much almost Tevez like as well, and I think he's going to grow more into that and become a more astute finisher. I'm talking about global superstar level. I can see it with Martinelli. Now that's a lot to say, but is there a player that you think can just hit a completely different level, like one that could be, like elite top 10 in the world kind of level?
Yeah, I think there's more than one.
Mm,
I think you're right. I think we've got. I wouldn't go so far as to say that we've got world class players already. I think one or two are potentially knocking on that door, and one would be Bukayo Saka.
mm.
Um, the other, I would say, would be Gabby Jesus, because of everything that he's won and achieved, and just the impact he's already had. I think there are players in this squad. So let me go through it, Ray. I mean,
Please.
I think William Saliba has the potential to be a world class centre back. I know he's only played one Premier League game for Arsenal, so it sounds ridiculous, but to go to France, to be playing for the national team, and to win Young Player of the Year, and his numbers are just a madness. Like,
Off the
everything that
chain.
he achieved, are ridiculous. Progressive passes, tackles won, long ball, successfully completed long balls. Like, the guy is top one of each of those traits for defenders across Europe. Now, he's come into Arsenal and he's played like as if he's been here for years. He looks like a Rolls Royce. And the best
Yeah.
way that I would describe William Saliba, Ray, is he's calm. He makes me feel calm. And when you've got a centre back like that, and he's got an aura about him,
Presence.
deep
Yeah.
voice, 6'4", like, we joke about it, but these are the things that make you think. If I'm an attacker, I'm thinking, shit, I've got to play play up against William Saliba today. I'd rather play against somebody else. So, and Harry Maguire, he's tall, he's this, that, and the other, but he's got an aura about him, but he's just not very good. So, William Saliba for me is potentially, going to get there. He's got a massive ceiling. Bukayo Saka, I think, is the one who's closest to world class. I think from Saka, I'd like to see him just rally up the numbers a bit more this season, more goals, more assists. The boy's almost unplayable, and he's physically getting stronger, because he's still a young boy, right? He's still growing. Yeah. He's still going to be adding a bit of muscle to him. The harder he gets to get off the ball, the stronger he becomes when he's running at you on the ball. He's a total threat, and I'd like to see him play across other sort of positions. I agree with you, Ray. I think Martinelli is fabulous. It's funny because Steve Round, one of the coaches at Arsenal in the latest All or Nothing, described Martinelli as he trains as if it's his last day on earth. And when you hear stuff like that, you think, gosh, the kid wants it, and he's earning it, and he's grafting for it. And I
can't
think
teach
you're right.
that, man. You really can't.
You can't. Yeah. And I think you're right. I think Martinelli's he's going to explode. And I just hope we get to see all of that at Arsenal. And the other one who might surprise you is Odegaard.
Agree.
Just because, he went to Real Madrid as a boy with a lot of hype, didn't quite work out for him. He's captained his national team from a young age, has shown glimpses of brilliance at Arsenal in his year and a half that he's been with us now. But I think Odegaard, he's still 22, 23, whatever he is. Yep. He has got, in the next 2-3 years, if he can elevate his game, again, it's about getting numbers. So Selhurst Park Friday night, if he takes that chance with his right foot and scores, that's, 1 goal straight away. If he can add that devastation, if he can start getting goals, there's no doubting his assist work. There's no doubting his work off the ball, covering most kilometers already in the first Premier League weekend. I don't doubt any of that stuff, but it's just about being a killer in that final phase of our play. And I think Odegaard has got a big, big ceiling. And for him to be our captain as well, fabulous. Have I missed anyone?
Well, you have a time constraint as well, so I don't want to keep you here for 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry. So no, I know it's not that. Is that a polite way of saying I'm boring you?
No, it's more like, do I need to get a part 2 with you?
No, well, mate, anytime. But I would just say, I think in terms of world class players, that's who I would say are the sort of. I mean, Smith Rowe, I don't think is there yet. Fabio Vieira, we haven't obviously seen. From a defensive perspective, Ben White's an interesting one. A lot of Arsenal fans.
He was my defender of the season last
really?
season because I felt safe and assured with him. As much as I see with Gabriel the technical abilities, having that Brazilian fire does cost him. He's given away penalties and got sent off, like unfortunately against Man City last season. I still feel there's that volatility in Gabriel. He even jumped in against Palace and Saliba cleaned it up for him. I feel with Ben White, I feel comfortable with him. You know what you were saying earlier? Not as assured with Saliba, because Saliba's like absolute unit. But with Ben White, I feel safe. When he played right back, I felt safe. Because Zaha's an incredible dribbler. He's going to roast anyone.
Yeah, Ben White, I thought was outstanding last season, and I think he may have even been a candidate worthy of for consideration for captain. But I think Ben White's got a couple of levels to his game. I love the fact that he builds from the back. He's a very progressive ball playing centre back. Versatility is going to come in. I mean, just thinking about it. I mean, right back. Is there a better right back in the league than Tomiyasu?
Defensively, I'd say no.
Yeah, I mean, defensively, the guy's numbers are insane, and if he's fit. Like, if you're talking one of the best right backs, in the Premier League, then he's surely, you would argue potentially world class. So, look, it's really exciting. We've got a lot of good youngsters. I think key for the club now is tying down Bukayo Saka and Martinelli to their new contracts, both of whom expire in 2024. So a little bit edgy. William Saliba as well, 2024 again expiry. So, club needs to focus on those. But no, we're in a good place. We're in a really good place.
Fantastic. So we spoke about the present and the future. Now let's go to the past. So Faisal was kind enough to give me his all-time 11.
Okay, and, before everybody goes nuts, there are 1 or 2 players in here that I know will raise a few eyebrows. But
Ray, you can defend yourself. You can defend yourself in a minute. In a minute. So we'll go with his all-time 11, which was Seaman, Sanya, Adams, Campbell, Cole, Robert Perez, Vieira, Fabregas, Alexis Sanchez, who quickly, if he continued for another couple of years at that form, he would have been in my all-time 11, so I agree. Dennis Bergkamp, my favourite ever footballer, and Thierry Henry. So, Fives, we have to obviously go to, first of all, Bakary Sagna. I tell you what, though, he's worked his ass off. I'll give you that every game.
Yeah, I mean, why do you not think did that surprise you, Bakary Sagna, or were you
Sure,
expecting me to say
because
someone else?
yeah, Dicko or Lauren.
Yeah, so look, I think I obviously love Dixon, right?
Sure.
And I really loved Lauren when he was at Arsenal. But for me, Bakary Sagna, um, best right back I've seen live. He was physically very strong, very difficult to beat one on one. Had a really good relationship with Theo Walcott down that right side, and I just loved his spirit. And I've got to say, I've had the pleasure of meeting him and his missus a few times, and
Oh,
his
here we go.
Mrs. Sanya is insane. But no,
Awesome.
Bukayo, but Bakary Sanya for me is just. I also liked just the way that he was a no nonsense player. Like he wasn't in it for the limelight. He was never one in the media. He wasn't making a statement with an outrageous dress code or anything. Very serious, committed footballer, ever present. Yeah, just loved him, loved Sanya. So I've just got an emotional attachment to him, and I think he's probably my favorite right back at the club.
He never did a bad job as well, isn't he? He was always
Nah,
solid, and like you said, no nonsense, kept it simple. I never saw him roasted, not that I can remember.
exactly.
So,
That's what I mean. Like I can pin back to days where I thought Dixon was bad and that Lauren was an invincible, right? So absolutely insane. But Sanya for me, there was just something about. I mean, of course, you got to bear in mind he played in weaker teams
I
under
was
Arsene
gonna
Wenger.
say, yeah,
So for me, he was standout right back. And if just on the topic of defence, I mean, Tony Adams, one of the best centre backs I've ever seen, and obviously having supported Arsenal for a really long time, managed to watch most of his career. Sol Campbell, colossal, absolute unit. And I remember the day we signed him. I remember reading the news on CFAX.
yes,
Yeah, running up and down the house, screaming that we'd got him. Arsene Wenger just bowled out of Colney with Campbell next to him. He
ridiculous.
was immense, and I think for 2 years I got Campbell on the back. I just loved big. I got a lot. So just a fabulous defender. Ashley Cole, best left
Yeah,
back I've ever seen in my life.
likewise.
Seeing him play live, incredible. The way he kept Ronaldo quiet in that, I want to say Euros. It wasn't the World Cup, was it? Was it a
No,
World
it was
Cup?
Euros. It was
It was
Euros.
the Euros
Yeah.
when Rooney got sent off. Uh, Ashley Cole Ashley Cole, do you know what? He's probably one of my favourite Arsenal players of all time. It kills me that he went to Chelsea. Absolutely kills me. And the club should have, paid his agent the extra 5K a week and signed him on. But he was at that time best left back in the world. And of course, you remember, I've grown up to the likes of Roberto Carlos,
Yep.
Philip Lahm, like so many
Yep.
really top quality players. Maldini, but Cole for me, fucking brilliant. As we go through the midfield, if I may, I mean
Please, no,
Robert
no, go ahead.
Perez,
It's brilliant.
elegant, technical, so gifted.
On the right, I assume, of this four, or would it be on the left?
Do you know what? Don't really care. Yeah, it could be
They can
mix and
switch.
match. Yeah, it can switch. I mean, I loved. I mean, Pires obviously naturally on the left with that relationship with Thierry Henry was
Ashley
just
Cole. Yeah.
magic. But Pires for me he was there was that year when he obviously he had his injury. He was probably the best player on the planet when he had his cruciates done.
He was.
He was so good. He was mesmerizingly good, Ray. And you'll probably remember this, but for maybe some of our younger
Absolutely.
fans who might be tuning in, the guy was a wizard on the ball, and he was always deceptively quick with the ball. I
Hmm.
remember a goal he scored at Anfield when he sort of curled it from a long distance in our
Yeah.
Invincible season.
We won
The goal
2-1.
against
Yeah.
Villa. Yeah, the goal
Yeah.
against Villa where he lobbed Schmeichel from like 8 yards. I
Oh,
mean, the guy was just magnifique, as they say. Vieira, for me, my favorite player of all time. Just immense. Leader, captain, warrior, soldier. There's a funny thing that, so Walid, who you might know from Twitter, he and I
yep.
sit next to each other at Arsenal every week. And I always ask him, every game, doesn't matter what game, what we're playing, 70 minutes into the game, I'm like, Wally, if we could have one player from the past, who would it be? And it's always, without any equivocation, Vieira. We both just look at each other.
Absolutely.
The guy was just unbelievable. And we see people like Yaya Toure, like Steven Gerrard, Roy Keane, even sort of modern day fierce combative midfielders. Vieira would have eaten them all up, Ray.
Yeah.
No doubt about it. He was a
Kante
tough man.
Kante would have got eaten by Vieira,
Oh,
and I
mate,
rate Kante so high.
it's not even. I mean, of course, they're different profile of player because Kante is more of a number 6, defensive sitting midfielder, whereas Vieira was a raw box to box, proper, all action, all just wow. Vieira was what a player.
Before you go to the player
go on.
next to him, were you
Yeah.
close to Gilberto or Petit, who's actually in my all-time 11?
Gilberto, I loved. I think he was. I don't
Steady
want to say.
Eddie.
I don't want to say he was underrated because he wasn't. He was an invincible, and everybody loved him. But I think Vieira had an edge, and I'll put it to you like this, Ray. If you were playing in this team, or let's say you're at school or wherever, and you looked across at your captain, and your team's in the shit, and your team, or let's say the other team are getting rough and ready with you. Who's that one player that you'd want to see next to you? It's Vieira all day long. Like,
so my question was Vieira's partner in your midfield.
yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So like for me, yeah, so I'm saying like the choice of
Vieira, hands down.
Vieira was always going to be there, but for me, like that's what Gilberto, that's what Petit, that's what so many other players sort of lacked. So for me, Vieira was always going to be the defensive, the warrior, the box to box, and next to him is Cesc. I mean, oh my God, Cesc, just one of the most naturally talented and gifted players.
I always feel like we sacrificed a couple of years of success for him to put him in our team. We changed.
How do you mean?
Well, the year he broke in was Vieira's was 2004 and 5. And then I feel Vieira was more willingly let go by the club so that we could accommodate Fabregas getting into the team. And this is a 17, 18-year-old Fabregas. So I believe that we lost that fire and that kind of combative spirit in the middle of the park because we also let Edu go in that same summer as we did with Vieira.
Yeah, potentially, but you have to remember Edu and Vieira wanted to leave. Vieira had been flirting with the idea of an exit
for 2 years.
Yeah, for 2 or 3 years. Real Madrid always came up, Juventus always came up. I think that was always the elephant in the room that Arsenal fans just didn't want to address. It was like, right, we know Vieira's going to go at some point. Yeah. Cesc, when he came through, I still to this day don't think a young player has had that much of an influence on me in terms of first impression. I think Jack Wilshere, everyone talks about that Barcelona game, but of course that wasn't his debut for Arsenal. But Cesc, from his debut in that League Cup game to playing against Juventus when he almost mocked Vieira when Vieira lined up for him, and everything that Cesc did for us, he stayed with us throughout some very difficult years, and he made some very ordinary players look very, very good, like Adebayor, for example. So for me, Cesc is one of the best and most naturally talented players I've ever seen, and still to this day, one of my favorite players. So even though he went to Chelsea, even though he left for Barca and went on strike and went to the F1 and all that stuff, which so many other players do, by the way, he will always have a fond place in my heart, Ray, because he played more than 300 times in red and white.
Wonderful. Just clean it up, Alexi.
Alexis, just
2 years.
This yeah. I mean, look, this is where it gets difficult because people probably scream at me like, why isn't Paul Merson in your team? Because you said you liked him so much, or why isn't Freddie Ljungberg another invincible, or one of the more recent guys, or Özil even? But Alexis, like you just hit the nail on the head, Ray. In those 2 years that he flew with Arsenal, he got me more excited than most players I've seen in my life when he was playing for Arsenal. I remember the day he came on for his debut in the Emirates Cup and the cheer around the stadium when he came onto that pitch. And Alexis, the thing about Alexis is that he's a great footballer. He's a grafter. I love the fact that he's just like this silent-faced assassin. Like, he was a proper killer. And I loved everything that he did for Chile. And I always wanted him to play for Arsenal. When he signed, I was like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Alexis is here. Yeah. But he's one of those players, one of very few players who would get you out of your seat so often. He could make the ball dance. He would score great goals, important goals. And he was just a fabulous player. And if there was a way of fitting him into this team, maybe out wide, Alexis and Pires on either flank, supporting Bergkamp and Henry. I mean, what firepower with Cesc pulling all the strings and Vieira just being the Lynch. Oh, mate. I mean, come on. It was magic. I don't need to explain Bergkamp and Henry, do I?
You really don't. Shall we move on?
But yeah, I mean, look, that's my 11. And listen, Ray, I've got to say, you could ask me next week and I might give you a completely different 11. But in the moment, I did think about it when I was getting the team over to you. I did think, should I play it safe? Should I go for Paul Merson? Should I go for Ian Wright? But no, these are the 11 players who, for various reasons, I had a very emotional attachment to.
Affinity,
I
yeah.
enjoyed watching play, and I will have very fond memories for.
Beautiful. So just one more part. First of all, Faisal, it's been absolutely wonderful. Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. And we'll go to the one community question because I got a lot of FPL ones. I'm like, guys, come on, man. So we'll go to Dream Team Professor. Really good lad. So love listening to Latte Firm. Yeah. Who's your favorite all-time player? You've kind of said it. And player from our current squad. So not necessarily best. And I love that little part at the end, that exclaimer. Go with the player that, you for me, Bergkamp wasn't the best player we've ever had, but he's my favorite. So
I understand that. Okay, so my favorite all-time player, yeah, Patrick Vieira, just because what a player. I mean, wow. I've never actually met him though.
I did that at Selfridges. I did
you
that at
really?
Selfridges.
So
and you know what? It's that stupid thing you do where you go, "You're Patrick Vieira."
Yeah.
Who does that?
I've been lucky. I used to work at John Lewis at Brent Cross, as it happens, and all the Arsenal boys used to come in. And I have a very fond, a very sort of memorable story about Jose Antonio Reyes. He came in with his parents to buy some furniture, and just a lovely, lovely boy, lovely person, lovely family. But I've met so many of the Invincibles, but I don't think I've ever met Patrick Vieira. But Patrick Vieira is my favorite player of all time. Just no messing about, wonderful. And actually, just in case you're curious, one of my favorite players that have not played for Arsenal is Stevie G. Gerrard, what a player! What a player!
Could you imagine that partnership?
Oh, mate, I used to dream about that.
Shut it down.
I think even for a moment, I had a Gerrard and Vieira poster together in my university room because I wanted it to happen so bad. But anyway, let's not tell anyone about that. My favorite player from the current squad, Bukayo Saka. I mean, there's just no doubt about it, Ray. Like, not only is he just the most wonderfully talented footballer, but I think I'm in love with Bukayo Saka, Ray, because everything about him is so wholesome and he makes me so happy. Like, if I see his picture, if I see him playing football, if I see him doing some of his media content, when I see him play football, when I'm at the ground and I'm watching him either home or away, I feel like a proud dad. I know it sounds really weird, but like,
I feel you.
I love the fact that he's one of our own and he's come through, the academy. And I mean, look, my daughter's favorite footballer is also Bukayo Saka, so maybe there's something there. But like, I just love Saka, man, and it's not because I think he's the best player in the team. I don't think he is, but I've just got this emotional attachment with him, and I want him to be the best footballer that's ever lived. So Bukayo Saka is my favorite player of this current squad.
Fantastic. So first of all, Faisal, my goodness me, that was brilliant. Thank you so much for stretching your time a little more. Really appreciate it. Absolutely brilliant. Hope we could do something again in the future.
Mate, it would be a pleasure. And sorry for overrunning. I can hear my wife in the background who's got to get out for 2, so it's daddy daycare for me now. But no, Ray, honestly, if you ever want me to come back, I'd be happy to do so. And of course, you'd be open door welcome to join me on Latte Firm.
Oh, you heard that, guys. All right. So yeah, well, that's legally binding. But please make sure to follow Faisal specifically at FK Hanaj, and also the Latte Firm at Latte Firm. I will include all the links, including the YouTube channel. Brilliant for analysis, brilliant for heat maps and stuff like that, which I'm a huge fan of, and also with specific player analysis, looking at their movements and also their XGI and records as well. So Faisal, thank you very much once again.
It's been a pleasure.
Brilliant.